So on November 16th, 2013, my husband and my 3 kids and I were up in Breckenridge for a weekend. My husband was a pastor and had been traveling a lot for work. I just felt like we were in a really tough place. So I picked up his cell phone while we were up there and saw a message on it from another woman talking about how they loved each other and their plans for later that day. In my mind's eye, I can still see myself there, you know, holding the phone and sort of the swirl of events that that happened, you know, all around that, and the ways that my life has changed. I lived with secrets and kind of hiding things in a pretty lonely place for quite a while, because I knew that for me to really own the truth and then to speak it was going to have huge repercussions for myself and my family. And then there also are not a ton of resources for women in ministry to deal with it, other than, have you considered praying? So I had suspected that there was an issue and had asked on a number of occasions, and it wasn't our first problem. And so I truly had a moment of clarity, like, you need to leave. I know that you need to leave. So we drove back from the mountains and dropped my kids off at my parents' house, and then went back to our home, and he packed up a bag. The next morning we met with church leadership and told them, and by Monday morning he had moved out, he'd been fired, we lost our only income and our health insurance. So that was like, wow, okay. And I really cared, and it deeply affected me, and I also knew that that's what was going to happen, and kind of had a peace, like, this is the only path for us for right now. So we went to counseling a few times and definitely wanted to work on it, but I had some a lot of guidance and support and some really kind of strong boundaries in place as to what it would look like to be on the path to healing. And those things didn't happen, and so the following June we were divorced and sold our house, and the only thing I didn't lose was my kids. Yeah, who were 3, 5, and 7. Then in June, once I moved into a new place with the kids and went back to work full-time, that really kind of started what I consider to be like the dark year. I now have this life that I don't want and I didn't choose and isn't my fault, and we don't have our church community, and I don't have my house, and just a year of real kind of wrestling and reckoning and grief, really. So I was having a conversation with a friend one afternoon, a Sunday afternoon in the spring, kind of near the end of that first year, and just talking through where I am and how stuck I am, and I hate this job, and I hate this life, and I hate the kids going back and forth and all of the struggle, and she said, you know what you're missing? And I'm like, no, would somebody please tell me, what am I missing? And she said, hope. You do not have any hope right now that this is going to change or get better. And I was like, wow, you're right. I mean, you can't make it that way. Like, that's just a miserable place to be in. And I just hadn't been able to hear that up to that point, or just wasn't there yet. And so I kind of chewed on that for a while, and then ultimately made the decision that spring to leave my job, and really went on, it was maybe 5 months or so that I didn't work, and I started writing and really wrestling with, this is the gift of this whole mess, is the opportunity for me to put back together the kind of life that I want for the kids and I, and to really grow who I am and live in a space of freedom that we didn't have before. And so I kind of stepped into that gap, and it was really hard, and it was more wrestling. And I mean, nights where I would wake up in the middle of the night and walk from room to room and touch each one of my kiddos and just be like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I do believe somehow this is all going to be okay. And I love you to death, and I hope I'm doing the right thing. And then, you know, things fell into place. Like one conversation led to another, which ultimately led to a job that was really great for us financially and gave me the freedom to still be there for the kids, which then led to another opportunity, and then eventually us having the resources to get a house and take some trips together and just put things back together in a more whole, authentic way than they were before. We perceive that there are rules on us and ways that we have to be, and a set life that we have to live or fit into, and like behaviors that we have to accept to kind of, like, I don't know that I ever believed my voice of, gosh, that doesn't feel good to me. I'm not okay with that. I didn't honor that. And so I guess in some ways I feel like I have bought my freedom to be me, to honor, gosh, this is what I want respect to look like, and this is what I want a happy family to look like. And it came at a huge cost, and I think that other people can have that too, not necessarily in a divorce context, but just as far as like listening to all of the women talk at this conference and really owning, this is how I was made and who I am and what I'm made for, and that there's a reason and a gift in that, and to really live fully in that instead of kind of who you think you're supposed to be to kind of fit in.